Okay. Inak stoik sistiko. It's a little bit of a cold day. And I find myself in Metropolis. The city that in Blackfoot is called Mohkinstsis, the Elbow, that most people know as Calgary, Alberta, has several claims to fame. One of them is the reason I call it Metropolis, because this was the place where the first couple of Christopher Reeve's Superman films were made, downtown over there. And so it really is Metropolis. And but otherwise, you know, one of its biggest things is that this is where the Calgary Stampede happens, right? Largest outdoor show on earth. Big rodeo that I don't care for. I've never even been to. Not interested at all in celebration of man's superiority over nature. Which is how I see rodeo. Any case, it is the afternoon of Thursday, October 12th, 2017, in the last quarter of the last summer lunar cycle, Awakatsikisam, the deer moon. And up here in Mohkinstsis for the afternoon, because Mahoney has an arthritis appointment, a specialist she has to see. We have to come up here once every maybe 3-4 months, a few times a year, get her checked out, get her prescriptions renewed, all that kind of stuff. So that's what we're doing today, and while she's in there, I figured I'd make a little video. Somebody asked me maybe a month ago or so on one of my videos, asked if I would be willing to renew my efforts in recording a weekly update, my Thursday weekly updates. And I have done those in the past where I make basically a vlog, a video log, a video journal of some of the aspects of my life, some of the projects that I'm involved in that I don't necessarily show in my other videos, right? Just a kind of an update on life itself. And so I'm interested in doing that. I've gone through periods of doing that. I have a playlist on weekly updates. I went through a period last winter of doing that, and I went through a period before that. I don't know whether it was a summer or winter period, but I seem to go for a little stretch and then I peter out. And I think a lot of it has to do with my personality, you know. I think, well, for one thing, I definitely got a masochistic streak. I like to make myself suffer in different ways, and then bitch about it. And one of the ways that I make myself suffer, that I don't have to, but it's, you know, it's all on me, is that I find things to be anal about, to be kind of obsessive compulsive about, and exacting. And then I don't stick to my exactness, and then I beat myself up for it. And one of those kind of things is to have the Thursday weekly update, because if I don't get it done on Thursday, on Friday, I'm beating myself up for why did I miss the Thursday. I might record on Friday, I might record on Saturday, but most of the time I'm just going to wait till the next Thursday. And then if I miss that, and I've gone 3 weeks, it almost feels like I should quit, you know. It's mental. It's all mental, right? It's a weird thing. So, but I do miss it. I do miss doing my weekly updates, because there's a lot that goes on in my life that I don't get to share on my videos usually, and that I would like to, you know, record, because this channel is my video journal. So I think I will make an attempt starting today to renew that effort. And I figure one way to get into it, to rekindle it, would be kind of to take you guys through a day in the life of Ryan, an average day. Maybe a little bit of an idealized day, but it's not too far off of the mark, all right? So what does Ryan do typically on a given day? Let's go right from Stage one, okay? I wake up about, I try to time it between about 4:30 in the morning, 5:30 at latest. And I don't like waking up to alarms. I don't like working on I don't like having to operate on a Gregorian Western style clock at all. I definitely don't like alarms, and I don't like things waking me up like that. So I've trained my body to wake up early. And usually I'll start, waking up, kind of looking at my phone, maybe just before 4 o'clock in the morning. I can see that I've got an extra half hour, and I tell myself, hey, you can sleep for another half hour. So I might sleep for 20 minutes. I might sleep for 40. I might, if I didn't go to bed at a good time the night before, I might sleep in by an hour. And then that gives me something to beat up on myself for. So, but in any case, I try to wake up early, but way before the dawn. And I get out of bed, I go downstairs, I start a cup of coffee for myself. And while the coffee's brewing, I go outdoor, I go out my back door, and I look at the night sky on days when it's visible. Like today, obviously, the cloud cover, if I was looking at the stars right now, I'd be out of luck. But this morning it was clear, and a lot of times it is clear where I can see the stars when I wake up. And so I've got a little project going where I'm trying to learn all of the stars that are most visible to me with my naked eye. So when I look up, not only am I looking at constellations, I'm trying to learn the names, the identities of individual stars, the names that astronomers have given them. I know the Blackfoot constellations up there, and well, the ones that we still know of. I think there was a lot more in the past, but we've lost some of those. And then I know, some of the major, like Greek constellations, but I'm not so much concerned about the constellations as I am the individual stars. I want to learn the individual names, and then ultimately I want to learn a little bit something about each one. Like what do the astronomers think about this star, and does it have planets around it, and what's going on up there with that particular star, right? So that, eventually, maybe when I'm 60 something or 70 something, I can walk outside and I can say a lot about the night sky. I kind of, these are the kind of learning projects that I like to do. I like my learning to be long-term projects and incremental learning where I just get a little piece every day. And not always every day. If I walk outside in the morning and I look up and I start recognizing the stars and naming them to myself, and there's one that, I was supposed to learn the other day, but I haven't caught it yet, and I don't know its name yet, then I don't get to advance. I don't get to try to learn anybody new. I want to make sure that I got what I've already covered before I move the next step. So it's not every day that I'm learning a new star. It really depends on whether I test myself positively or not that morning, and I'm ready to learn another one. And then if I am ready to learn another one, then I'll look for one that's bright that I'm going to learn, right? So in time, I can learn a lot of the night sky, and it reminds me of just going out into the coulees and being able to name all the plants. That's the same kind of project that I had before, and I think names are really important. Like if you don't have a name for something, you're not going to pay attention to it. You're not going to learn much about it. You're not going to become familiar with it. It's just like people, right? Like imagine if you went through your life not knowing anybody's name. You wouldn't grow very many close familiarities with people, right? So learning names is a first step in a relationship, and it's only the first step, but it's a big one, right? So that's one of the things I do. Make my coffee while it's brewing, go out and attend to my star project, come back in. It only takes 5-10 minutes, My coffee's waiting. I take my coffee, get on the computer, and go to Facebook. And I go particularly to a private group that I've developed called Salubrious Indulgence. And in that group, I started a game of my own invention. It's a healthful game. That's what salubrious means. It's healthful. So, so the name is about indulging in your good health, right? Salubrious indulgence. And what it is I've defined 8 or 9 different health domains of my health that I track and monitor and calculate my gains and losses every day on. So, for instance, the domains that I'm currently using in the game are spiritual health, the health of my sleep. You know, am I getting enough sleep? Am I dreaming good? Am I recalling dreams? Am I waking myself up at the right time? So sleep health, physical health, like am I training? Am I working out? Nutritional health, am I eating good? Relational health, how am I doing with family and community? What do I have other than relational health? I know I have symbiotic health, what I call symbiotic, which is how am I fitting in with the ecology? Like, am I going out and engaging in the natural harvest? Am I doing things to help extend the diversity of life around me? Am I coexisting well with the other species? So symbiotic health. Then I have economic health. I set myself a minimal daily revenue quota that I have to try to make every day. And if I'm doing professional work, it only takes me about 5 hours a day to make my quota. But I have to work 7 days a week. Right? So economic health. And then I got domestic health, like how well am I taking care of and maintaining my home and the things that I need, that I use to make my way in life, right? So domestic health. So each of these health domains I have defined, and then I start the game at 0 in all of those domains, and then I gain or lose half an integer a day per domain based on whether I did the work for that domain that day or not. And like today, this morning when I woke up and ran my numbers, I was scoring myself for yesterday. So it's the day before that you score yourself for. I do have one other person that's playing with me. I invited like 100 people onto the page. People that are interested in their health, that are doing good things for their health, but not everybody wanted to play. In fact, just one person right now is playing. So I am looking for more players if it sounds like something you'd be interested in. But in any case, what I try to do is move myself from 0 to 10. And once you get to 10, you can level up and change the definitions and the domains that you're using and that kind of a thing. I've never gotten to 10, even though I've played the game 3 or 4 times now, and I go to the extent that I can, and then I peter out. It's a long game. It's harder than it sounds, and it's like way longer than Monopoly long, because I can play for months, and some of my levels might be above 5, but you know, I've even gotten up into 8 and 9 sometimes, but then I end up falling again. So the ups and downs of life are really, you know, but I have confidence that this game is a good idea. In fact, I've thought about making kind of a self-help book based on this game. But if I can't make it to even level up once, I don't feel like I have the credentials to write that book yet. So anyway, I play my salubrious indulgence and share that with everybody where I'm at for the day and describe what got me there or didn't. And then I might, you know, take care of some communications if I have emails, if I have comments on YouTube videos, anything on Facebook. You know, people wanting to interact with me, ask me different questions, or you know, wanting me to respond to this or that. That's why I take care of. And then I go, and then usually by that time, we're getting to like 6:30 a.m. and then I try to do a workout, right? If I can get in an hour of workout in the morning, my whole day goes better, right? So if I go running, that kind of thing, or if I go, you know, lift some weights, do something like that. If I am able to do some martial arts, I haven't had a training partner in a long time, but usually the martial arts I'll save for the evening, because that's when I can actually get people to come over to the house and that kind of thing. So get in a workout, hopefully, before having to take the girls to work. So I take Mahoney to work at the university. I take Belle to her school. Sometimes I'll drive Justine to work, but at the mall. But usually she'll take the bus over to the mall, because that requires crossing the river, and we all know now that Ryan doesn't cross the river. No, I do. At the end of the day, I pick her up always. She doesn't have to ride the bus at the end of the day, but her way there, she usually rides the bus. But I take Mahoney and I take Belle to go do their things. And then I might have a meeting or something like that in the morning. If I am scheduled meetings, I typically will schedule them in the morning hours, or after I've already brought the girls home from work. So I'm not adverse to meeting like at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but I don't want to meet, you know, any other time in the afternoon, because that splits up my day too weirdly. So that period of time when I try to make my economic gains is after I drop them off at work and before I pick them back up. I try to get in that 5 hours of professional work, or, you know, anytime, of course, that there's wildlife calls, I drop the professional work and go do that. Not that that's not professional work, but it just feels different because I enjoy it so much, right? So if there's wildlife things going on, that's why I go attend to. And even, you know, even if I just feel like I need to get outside during that period, I might go outside. I might take a walk around Spopikimi, do some phenological and ecological surveying, maybe make some videos or something. But yeah, I try to make my money in that period for the day, and it doesn't always work out. Sometimes after I'm done picking them up, I have to go back to work. I'm working on a few different, I was going to say several, it's not really several, it's a few different contracts right now in terms of my professional work for the winter. I'm working, one of the projects that you probably hear more about as long as I do these Thursday updates is I'm doing a research project for Lethbridge College. I'm coordinating a research project where they're looking at the whole life cycle of their Indigenous students and trying to find out from high school all the way through admissions and program delivery and graduation and on into, you know, their employment. They're trying to find out where they can improve the services at the college. Where are students getting tripped up along the way? Are they prepared coming from high school into the college? If not, what do we got put in place to prepare them? Do they, you know, what do they know about, what are their preconceptions about the college when they're in high school? Do they run into any kind of barriers during admissions? Do they run into barriers that the college can have any control of during the time that they're in the college, right? The college really is interested, Lethbridge College is really interested in indigenizing, which means that they're going to have to change really the culture of the college itself. And we'll see to what extent that they're willing to do that, but I'll be probably helping them identify some of those areas where they might make some changes. I'll make some recommendations and such. But right now, in terms of that project, I'm just in a lit review phase, and I can't stand lit review. I mean, it's necessary, especially when you're doing a research project out of a post-secondary institution like that. You really gotta engage with the current literature, even if you don't agree with it. You have to dialogue with it. But you know, I think graduate school, way back, almost 20 years ago, graduate school just killed me for reading, and I don't enjoy academic reading anymore. But you know, it goes ups and downs. Like if I'm reading for 5 hours in the day, There's periods when I'm definitely really into it and I'm enjoying it. And then there's periods like where it all sounds so redundant and I start thinking, these guys aren't even asking the right questions. So even though I'm reviewing this literature, there's huge gaps. And I guess that's important to identify, but it's frustrating to have to go through. It's very time consuming. When I read, I'm meticulous. I don't read fast. I read maybe 10 pages an hour and I take notes, and I'm very, very thorough. If I'm going to read something, I'm going to walk away with something from it. I'm not just going to go through the exercise that's typical of the academy, which is where you're binge reading, really. And if somebody asks you, well, what is that book about? What does it say? Most professors will tell you, well, you go read it, right? They won't be able to actually articulate it themselves unless it's one of their favorites, right? So, but I don't like to do that. If I'm reading something, I like to find something to take from it, or find a good critique about it, and nail it down and have it, right? So I'm not walking away with nothing. So I'm doing lit review, and it's tedious, but it has to get done, and I enjoy parts of it, and I dread other parts. And I find it difficult to get my whole 5 hours of lit review in, because that's a lot of reading for me. That's a long time to keep my mind engaged, and I find that like really focusing, I'm good for about 3 hours of really focused, thoughtful work. Then I need to step away, and so I do step away, but when I step back to get another couple hours in, it's often difficult for me to get myself, there mentally again for another round. So that's one of the projects I'm doing, the Lethbridge College project. I may also coordinate another program for the Samas Employment Agency like I did last winter. Last winter I ran a program called Apestot Soap, which was for Indigenous or Aboriginal people who are moving into the city of Lethbridge from the reserve for the first time, and it's kind of a transition/employment skills program with a very Blackfoot cultural anchoring. And so they want me to do that same kind of program again, but add an entire GED training and testing to it. And so if I do that, it's probably going to begin in January or February. I already wrote a funding proposal for them for that program that they've put forward. And so if it goes forward, then great. I'm also working currently on a proposal for them for another program, and this is going to be an entrepreneurial program for people who have really barriers to employment, where either they might have limited mobility, they can't be on their feet, and a lot of jobs require you to be on your feet. They might have a little bit of mental disability, where it's not like they're completely dysfunctional, but an employer might not take them on because their learning is different. Or maybe single moms who want to be home with their children, or can't find childcare for some reason, or either can't afford it, right? So what we're proposing to do is take a select group of such peoples and train them in small business and have them start a co-op business together, which we'll fund, and we'll give them a storefront, a retail business, and they can try their hand at entrepreneurship. We'll bring in Lethbridge College training, small business training, and we'll bring in people with the skills, whatever skills are necessary to train them in the retail trade that they're going to get into, which we're envisioning kind of a Blackfoot art, because there's not really much for Blackfoot art on the retail side of things, and that's a business that they can run online, that they can run in the shop, that limited mobility will not be a hindrance, where stay-at-home moms can stay at home and create merchandise for the store, you know, take care of books, bookkeeping, that kind of thing. Just taking people with different barriers, putting them together so that they can, together as a group, it's a small group, overcome those barriers, because they all have different skills and abilities, right? So that's another proposal that's in the works. We'll see where that goes. So those are kind of some of the professional things that I'm doing over the winter. I'm also going to be, of course, continuing some of my snake work. While the snakes are brumating, I'm going to be going through the photographs that I took all summer, and one by one comparing them to the snakes that are already in my database, and you know, seeing who I encountered all this summer and where I've encountered them before, and maybe learning something new about you know, some of their behaviors through that. We'll see. I'm taking care of Mandy, the broken jaw rattlesnake, for the winter, and currently, as you saw, I have a whole slew of pythons who I'm babysitting. One of them, by the way, has like Houdini skills, where in the last 24 hours she's got out of her bin 3 times, and I keep finding her just back along the heat tape on the shelving system that was installed finally, which I haven't shown on video yet, but she usually just climbs behind her bin onto the heat tape. But this morning I found her, she climbed in with the boa constrictor. The two of them were just laying together. So yeah, I got that. I got the snake babysitting going on. I'm still doing the relocations of skunks and raccoons and such into the winter here, and who knows what else, you know. I get all kinds of bizarre wildlife calls in the off season, so we'll see what comes about. So those are the kind of things that I'll take care of during the day. Then I go and pick up Belle, pick up Mahoney from work and school, and go back to the house. We usually make dinner. Belle's going to be training for cooking, as you've seen. She's going to be making a series of cooking videos, and she wants to start doing jiu-jitsu again. We've had a break from jiu-jitsu, and we're both really rusty. So we're going to start back into jiu-jitsu, I think, and I think I'm going to run her through the regular combatives course rather than doing the junior combatives, because it's just another, you know, step, and it has most of the combative stuff in it anyway. Might as well just do the regular adult combatives with her. So we're going to be doing that. I'm going to be looking for new training partners over the winter, I think. Although my garage is very cold, so I got to do something about that. I got to buy a little heater or something for in there. What else? Then toward the evening, you know, in my day, Justine usually gets off when the mall closes at about 9 o'clock, so I go pick her up when she's done, run her home, and then I might be up for another hour, kind of twiddling around online. If I have some videos that I've made during the day, that's when I process them, put them up, share them, and then I try to hit the sack by sometime between 10 and 11 o'clock at night. That way I'll get enough sleep that, you know, 4:30, 5 o'clock, I'll feel well rested in the morning. So that's kind of my typical ritualized day. I left out some things. I left out, like, forgot smudging, doing atsumoiskan, like prayers in the morning, which I do after Mahoney wakes up, because our bundle is in there in the bedroom, and I like for her to be up and stuff to do it with me. And we do have a ceremony coming up. We're going to be doing our opening the beaver bundle, or closing the beaver bundle, you'd say, at this time of year. A big public ceremony that we'll host, not this weekend, but next Sunday. And that'll be the first time that we've done the ceremony since our elder passed away, about maybe a year ago, the late Alan Pard. We're in a weird position where he trained us to do this, and now, you know, he's gone and we have no elder anymore. So it's weird when you get to that position in life where well, especially in the system that we in the practices that we partake in, the Blackfoot spiritual disciplines, because we still feel very young and we don't have an elder anymore, and there's nobody who knows it necessarily any better than we do. There's like one or two people that are probably at the same kind of level in their training with the beaver bundle as we are. But yeah, we don't have an elder, so I'm going to be running the ceremony myself, me and Mahoney, and we'll just see how it goes. I'm sure it'll be fine. It's always good. And so yeah, this next week coming up, I think, is going to be a very busy week, because there's a lot that I have to get ready for that ceremony, and then on top of that, I got to continue doing my whole daily routine and trying to make a living and all of that. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, I guess that's a day in the life of Rye, and that is a long video for a weekly update. I'm going to try to keep them a bit shorter than that half hour. But I put it out there for anybody who's interested in what else I do that you don't see behind the scenes. And come back to it next week with another update. Again,